Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Talks in Class. I'm Jenna. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am coming to you guys from the time capsule bedroom back in Wisconsin. If you are watching on video in some format, you can see, but the background behind me is a time capsule. There is a daybed and an Audrey Hepburn poster behind me. So I'm in the time capsule, which is actually going to become a little less of a time capsule. I'm gonna do a little bit of a clean out. Nothing crazy, don't worry. I'm not gonna get rid of, the core throwback items, but I have been spending a lot of time here, so I just need to downsize a little bit. I gotta get rid of a few things and, just do like a couple updates in the room because I gotta say, I love the time capsule bedroom. It is very fun, but it is a little unsettling to wake up day after day in a room that looks like I decorated it when I was 18 years old. Because I did, basically. So other than being back here in Wisconsin, obviously, where it actually has been nicer weather than in LA, believe it or not, California has been getting crazy rain and just like flooding and all of this awful weather. Wisconsin is in the midst of a Midwestern version of a winter heat wave. It's been in the 40s or even the 50s, which is insane for February. Like usually it is below zero and blizzarding outside. So it's been pretty nice. The sun has been out. But other than being back here for a bit, nothing much new happening here. I am here to help with some family stuff that's going to be a little time consuming for me. So I do want to give you all a heads up that I will be missing a couple of episodes of the podcast in the coming weeks. As of right now, there will not be a new episode next week. So we'll have this one and then we'll skip next week. The plan after that is to have an episode the following week and then potentially skip the next week and then have an episode, and hopefully we'll be back to that regular schedule. So I will update you guys all obviously as we go. So as always, I will start with my what good happened, and let's see. I made it back to Wisconsin in the midst of the rainstorms in LA, which I honestly was nervous about. I didn't even have any delays, so that was good. But for my official what could happen, we will go with this one. For those of you who do not know, I have a cat named Regina George. She absolutely lives up to her namesake. She is absolutely beautiful. She's a beautiful Maine Coon cat, but she's evil. I basically accidentally adopted her from a shelter because nobody would take her. She had been adopted and brought back to that shelter twice because she's not nice. I ended up taking her, and naturally I named her Regina George, and she now lives at my mom's because about 10 years ago, I moved into an apartment with roommates and I couldn't take Regina George, and my mom loved her so much that she just has stayed here. And my mom also is the only person that Regina has been consistently nice to throughout her life. But anyway, Regina George the cat is old and she has been kind of sick. And a few months ago when I was home visiting, we really thought it was the end probably for Regina George the cat. The vet didn't know what was going on and meds weren't working and all these things. But she's gotten so much better the last few months, and now she's almost back to normal, really. She's old, but her symptoms are gone anyway. And I will say she is much nicer now that she's in her advanced years. She will come up to me and let me touch her without biting me. So that's good. This week's episode is a fun one, but also somewhat of a painful one to reminisce on for me because it is all about my cringiest phase of life, and probably many of our collective cringiest phase of life, which is middle school. I love reminiscing about the 2000s and the 2010s because I have so many fond memories of those times. For the most part, anyway, I loved the fashion, I loved the music, the pop culture. They were just generally fun times in my life that I look back on very positively. And I've noticed that a lot of the reactions I get from people to my content on social media, my throwback content on social media, is people just assuming that everything I post about is cringe, or that I feel like it's cringe. Like I'm regretful of especially the fashion choices and the makeup and the hair and kind of those aesthetic choices of the time. And you know what? I'm really not, not usually. Like would I wear them now? Not necessarily, but I am not regretful of those choices. I'm genuinely nostalgic for those things. Even the bad outfits, there's something about them that I love. They remind me of really good times. But there is one time period that for me is at least equal parts nostalgia, like positive nostalgia, and just full-blown regretful cringe. And that is middle school. I must say I'm very fortunate that my middle school years were in the Y2K era. I was in middle school from 1999 to 2001. And that's really my one and only saving grace for my middle school years. Like, I don't know if you've met a middle schooler, but it's rough, okay? It's rough out there at 12 years old, no matter what. But at least we had Cool Frosted Makeup and TRL and the Oops, I Did It Again album. Like, pop culture was good. There was a little hope for us, even with our braces and our bad skin and everything else. Middle school, or those preteen years in general, is that very special time in your life where you really feel so grown. And this is so funny to me looking back, because I felt like I had it all figured out at 12, 13 years old. But looking back, I'm really horrified by about 98% of the things that I did, said, wore, posted on my AOL away message. Just most of it was pretty horrifying. And I feel like you really need to get the full picture here, like full picture of middle school Jenna to understand this. So let's travel back in time. Picture it with me. It is 1999, okay? Pre-new millennium, 1 year after TRL premiered, 1 year after Ginger Spice left the Spice Girls. Significant times in pop culture. It's a small town in Wisconsin, a solid 2.5 hours away from a good mall kind of level of small town, 30 minutes away from even a movie theater where I would attempt to sneak into PG-13 movies even though I'm only 12. I have long brownish hair and sausage roll bangs that I'm in the process of growing out, so sometimes I pin them to the sides of my forehead with little snap barrettes that match my outfit, or ones with little flowers on them, or glitter or something, which naturally I bought at Afterthoughts at the mall when I went with my mother. I have big, round, wire frame glasses, which I've been wearing since 2nd grade, and by the way, are not cool or trendy or cute in any way in 1999, okay? It's not a good look. I also have braces, a full mouth of braces, the rubber bands on which I have changed out every time I visit my orthodontist, which is like monthly or whatever. And my favorite color combinations are the least subtle color combinations I can think of. Pink and purple, orange and yellow, and blue with silver, because, you know, it is the new millennium after all. I have terrible skin, which I attempt to dry out like a strip of beef jerky baking in the afternoon sun with the entire acne care line at Target or Walmart. Obviously, the Stridex or Clearasil wipes that burn like the literal fire of the surface of the sun every time I rub them aggressively all over my face, which is every day, at least twice a day, including after gym class right before I spray approximately 3/4 of a bottle of Bath & Body Works Sun Ripened Raspberry, or maybe Gap Grass all over myself, and then slather on another coat of Bonnie Bell Mocha Frost lip glosses around my braces. I am a 7th grader at GET Middle School, where I spend the majority of my day passing origami folded notes, written gel pens to my friends, stressing out about getting my locker open. Like, those padlocks were a major source of stress for me in middle school. Awkwardly flirting with my crush, who I still, to this day, have an entire journal from middle school all about. After school, I ride the little school bus home and then immediately get on the little cordless phone, call my friend, or go on AOL to IM with my friends to debrief every single little word we spoke to the boys that we liked that day, and share our theories about what's going to happen on Dawson's Creek that night, or whatever else was going on in our little lives outside of the boys. And even thinking about this now, like just kind of briefly going through my day as a middle schooler, 25 years later, 25 years later. Sure, there's nostalgia to it, but also it makes me cringe. Like, it is so difficult to even think back on. These are the memories that make me physically cringe, like involuntarily. Like, I make the face and I feel that pang in my chest. It's a little painful to think about how embarrassing my friends and I really were at that time. And even worse, I think the part that makes it so embarrassing is that we legitimately thought we were so cool these days. If you've seen the show Pen 15, I truly, like, if you were not in middle school around this time but you've seen that show, I cannot express to you how perfectly and like absurdly accurate that show is, at least to what my experience was in middle school. I'm not kidding. The first time I saw it, I was like, oh my God, is Anna based on me? Like, I am her. She is me. I am her. I am Anna. Anna is me. The only difference being that I had glasses in addition to the braces, at least until partway through 7th grade. I did get contacts, and then that drastically improved my cool factor. But I think the reason why that show is really so amazing is because it so perfectly nails the awkwardness at that age, like especially that age at that specific time. Like being 12 years old in a time when cargo khaki pants and crocheted headscarves were in style, and like blueberry scented body glitter. Because as iconic as the Y2K fashion was, it is simultaneously, I think, one of the cringiest memories for me. Because here's the thing, when you're 12 with half grown out bangs and braces, like I don't care how freaking cool those metallic blue Paris Blues flare leg pants are, they are not gonna look cool, okay? They're not gonna look cool on you when you're 12 years old. And the cringe isn't from not looking cool. Like obviously we didn't look cool. It's about how cool we thought we were, because let me tell you, I thought I was slaying in those metallic blue pants that I bought from Deb at the mall. I'm like, sure, it's part of the experience. That age is important, and it feels especially embarrassing to look back on because it is that age that we are starting to try to become our own people. We're picking out our own clothes. We're forming our little identities. But it's also the age when we're like the most influenced. And I don't look back on this necessarily in a negative way, but there was such a strong urge at that age to be cool. And I think I was really fortunate because growing up in such a small town, I've talked about this a little bit before, there wasn't a ton of bullying, definitely not like I've seen in movies or have heard from other people's experiences. It just wasn't like that. Like there weren't enough people for you to be mean to, plus everybody knew each other. So like you couldn't bully a kid because your parents were probably best friends or you lived down the street. It just was a different experience. Like you were not getting bullied at my school if you didn't have the right shoes or the right brand name clothing or whatever it was. But you definitely did feel really cool if you had it. You know what I mean? Like it was still there. You just weren't necessarily getting shoved into a locker if you didn't. But let's get one thing perfectly straight here, okay? We did not look cool. We may have felt cool, but we did not look cool at all. Because first of all, we have to acknowledge puberty. I don't know how these TikTok kids do it, but we were all a mess at this age. Like, how are these kids today looking put together and not like greasy, disgusting little messes at this age? Like, in my day, half of us had reached our full adult height by then, myself included. Like, I'm literally the same height now as I was in 6th grade. And then others still looked like tiny children because they hadn't had the growth spurt yet. And the girls always, of course, had their growth spurts first. So the girls were towering over the boys. Like, it was so awkward. Our pants were too short because we grew 4 inches in 6th grade alone, and our parents were not going to buy us more pants. Like, they just bought us new pants. You're not getting any more pants. You got to wear your high waters. We had greasy hair because we just didn't know how to deal with all of these sudden body changes, and we were trying to cover our acne with like caked on powder foundation that we stole from our mom's bathroom because we didn't have YouTube's tutorials to teach us how to do makeup. We did not have skincare. Our skincare was Clearasil, maybe Proactive. That might have even come later. We had our little training bras too. Like, the training bras was the whole thing. We would like very bashfully buy them at Kohl's with our moms who were trying to be really supportive and just kind of like felt a little overly enthusiastic about it. And the little middle school boys who were especially bold and disgusting would try to snap our bras, like pull on the strap in the back and like let it snap you. Middle school boy humor was really on another level of immature. My friends and I even had a code word, a special code word that we would use to tell each other secretly if our bra strap was showing so that we could fix it, because God forbid somebody see your bra strap showing, you know, on your shoulder by 1/4 of an inch. So we had these new bodies and these new hygiene concerns and just all of these puberty things. And if that wasn't unfortunate enough, we had fashion trends like Old Navy tech vests because we were too young to really pull off the cool Y2K trends. And if we tried, it just didn't work. So we really had to walk the line carefully between shopping at more kid or like youth-friendly stores, but not looking like a kid, because at this age, it's very important that you don't look like a kid. We did not want to look like a kid. And then on the other side of the line, like attempting to dip our little preteen toe just a little bit into those cooler, trendy teenage stores where the older kids shopped. And I don't know, it's really sad to me how tween fashion has kind of vanished. Like, this is such a crazy thing that there's just not things that are specifically made for and marketed towards preteens anymore, because we had great options, okay? Like, we had some solid options for tween clothes. Tweens and young girls these days look the same as adults for the most part. They're wearing the same clothes, they're using the same makeup products, skincare products. Social media has them thinking that at 12 years old, they need to be putting retinol on their skin and wearing head to toe Lululemon. And that is sad, okay? They're missing out on this very important phase that is the awkward phase. It is a rite of passage. You have to go through this. And, you know, back in our day, tween fashion was a whole genre, and it was amazing, especially looking back. I don't think we appreciated it as much as we should have back then, but we had brands like Mud Jeans and LEI and Delia's catalogs, and we had fun stores that were created for people our age where we could not only shop, but like hang out, like Limited Too and Claire's and I don't know, the juniors section at JCPenney. And they were fun. They were cool. Those stores were perfect because they weren't selling kids' clothes. Like, the stuff was cool enough and trendy enough to appeal to our desire to feel a little bit more grown up and with the trends, but they were still fun and colorful and youthful. They weren't like beige, you know? So there were these places that we could go to find clothes that would fit us and that we knew would work for us. But also around that time, like around the time we hit middle school, my friends and I really decided that we were grown and it was time that we wanted to start shopping at some of those cooler stores. Like, we wanted to fully participate in the fashion trends. And I feel like my personal first leap from kids' clothes or teen clothes, tween clothes, to those cooler, older kids stores was American Eagle. And also Deb. I don't know how many times I've talked about Deb at this point, but I'll say it again. I loved Deb. Deb was my lifeline for cheap, trendy, cool-looking clothes that my mom would not let me buy from the Delia's catalog. Deb deserves so much credit in my youth and teen years, especially for my fashion choices. It was just great. But by the time my friends and I started middle school in 1999, we all became obsessed with American Eagle. And you have to understand, this was in 1999. That's very important because in 1999, LFO released their song Summer Girls, which made Abercrombie and Fitch wildly famous amongst all of these little tweens in middle America who previously had never heard of it. You know, the song, I like girls that wear Abercrombie and Fitch. This is how we all heard of Abercrombie and instantly became obsessed with it. We wanted to be summer girls. We wanted to be girls that wore Abercrombie and Fitch. But because I lived in rural Wisconsin, we did not have an Abercrombie and Fitch anywhere near us. But we did have an American Eagle at our local mall, which was, again, 30 minutes away. And we all promptly decided to make it our entire personalities. The most popular items from American Eagle in middle school were obviously the graphic tees or the graphic sweatshirts, just anything that said the brand name sprawled across our chest in giant letters was our top priority because we needed everybody to know that we were wearing American Eagle. And how are they going to know that we were wearing American Eagle if it did not say American Eagle large across the front of our shirt? I remember there was this one crew neck sweatshirt that both my best friend and I had around this time, probably like 1999. It was heather gray, and I think it maybe had a football on it, but it had some sort of small graphic on the front of the sweatshirt, and I think it just said like AE or American Eagle. It was pretty minimalistic, but we literally thought we were so cool and so subversive because the sweatshirt was from the boys section in American Eagle. And we thought that we reinvented fashion by buying that sweatshirt. Like, we were such rebels and nobody else would have it because it wasn't from the girls section. We thought we cracked the code. I've been trying to find a picture of it. If I do, I will share it somewhere. Then, of course, there were those multicolored kind of like parachute cargo pants. Remember those with the little bungees on the pockets? Honestly, those are probably back in stores right now. You could probably find a nearly carbon copy of the ones that I had in middle school in probably American Eagle right now. I know I had a navy blue pair, and I want to say I also had an orange pair, but I remember that I wore them with an American Eagle graphic tee that was in the same similar color palette. I was so obsessed with that outfit. I felt so cool in it. I probably wore it like at least once or twice a week. It was my favorite outfit. And then there were those American Eagle shoes. I don't know if this is just unique to my school. I really haven't talked about this with a lot of people, but in my school, like those American Eagle shoes were pretty much all we wore besides sneakers and sandals, especially those clunky kind of low boots with multicolored laces. They would have orange laces or red laces or yellow laces. I would get one pair each year at the beginning of the school year, and that was the only pair of closed-toed shoes that I wore for the entire year besides like my sneakers in gym class. Every other day I wore those American Eagle like little boot things. And then in the summer, obviously I would wear my chunky brown knockoff Doc Martens sandals, which I wore with socks, or those Adidas slides with like the spikes on the sole that hurt, so you had no choice but to wear them with socks. And this was pretty much the rotation of my footwear in middle school. And then a little later, my friends and I all became obsessed with the reversible halter tops and the reversible tube tops from American Eagle, which I've talked about endlessly with people. Like, we all remember those. They were for some reason, such a big part of our teen years. I was obsessed with those. And also their hibiscus print board shorts, which, speaking of hibiscus, I don't think there was a single fashion trend that had a bigger hold over my friends and I in middle school than just in general the Y2K surf aesthetic. Oakley sunglasses fell into this whole thing for us, or obviously Folkleys. We all had fake Oakleys. We were not wearing real ones in rural Wisconsin. It was actually, now that I think about it, it was kind of a combination of surf aesthetic and almost like a snowboarder aesthetic, actually, when I think back on it, especially for the guys. Like, a lot of the little middle school boys kind of leaned into a more skater-esque variation of this, but less grungy skater, more beachy skater, I guess, if that makes sense. Despite, of course, the fact that we were in the middle of the country and there was no beach anywhere. You could snowboard though, so I have to give them credit for that, at least. We also went all in on visors for a brief moment in time, and I need to know if this is a trend in anybody else's school around probably late 2000, early 2001 maybe, but all the little middle school boys in my middle school were obsessed with wearing visors, specifically from American Eagle or Adidas, upside down and backwards. Like, what is that? I'm sorry, I've made a lot of questionable fashion choices in my life, but nothing has ever looked less cool than that on a 12-year-old boy. Like, literally nothing, especially on a 12-year-old boy. Every single one of them with their baggy cargo shorts, khaki colored cargo shorts, their plaid button-down shirt, always in like a green plaid, short sleeved probably, worn open over a plain white or gray t-shirt, and their stupid visors with a beaded or puka shell necklace that they bought at the mall, and their frosted tip hair that their mom or their older sister probably did at home with like a little highlighting kit from a box, gelled straight up in the air, like peeking out of that little visor. Or remember when the guys would just gel the front of their hair up? Like, I don't know if this was widespread either, but it was like a little shelf right in the front of the hair. Just the front would be gelled straight up, and I don't know where the rest of it, I guess the rest of it was kind of gelled forward and down, and then it's like this little ducktail right in the front. This was very popular amongst the little middle school boys at my school as well. Actually, I've been watching The Sopranos again because I just have nothing to watch, so that's just the constant rotation. And Anthony Jr. in those early seasons is he's so accurate for a middle school boy at that time. And the timing's right on because he was in middle school on the show at the same time that I was in middle school in real life. The show started in 1999, so the timing aligns, but every detail from his hair to the Limp Bizkit and like Marilyn Manson t-shirts, and they wear like Jenko jeans, and it's flashbacks. And all of that was everywhere in my middle school. And we had a lot of questionable trends though. Like, it wasn't just It wasn't just the obvious ones, like Jinko jeans and cargo shorts, obviously not great. Upside down visors, obviously not great. But one that always stands out to me that I have since learned was widespread somehow. This is another thing that I would love to know how it managed to spread so far and wide, but it was wearing little boys' white undershirt tank tops as real shirts, like for girls, for everybody actually. But you know, the Hanes or Fruit of the Loom ones that came in a little 3-pack in the plastic wrapper from Walmart or wherever you bought them. And we just decided sometime probably around the year 2000 that these were fashion. Like, we were obsessed with these. They're extremely see-through, by the way, so we would wear 2 or even 3 of them layered over each other. Oh my God, I just realized maybe the little boy's undershirt tank top is the origin of my own personal reasoning for like layering tank tops. It was utilitarian. It wasn't even fashion in those early days. Like, we had to layer those tank tops because they were so see-through. And again, God forbid somebody see the outline of your little training bra. But anyway, I was so devoted to wearing these little tank tops as fashion. Like, my poor mother, I probably dragged her to Walmart one random night when somebody told me about this. I don't know how I heard about it, but it quickly became like a very real obsession of mine. I wore those little tank tops to a middle school dance one time. My group of friends and I decided that this was the ultimate outfit for the dance. Okay, you ready? Boot cut jeans, of course. I still remember actually which exact jeans that I wore. They were really dark denim, boot cut from LEI. And I probably had one of those grommet belts, you know, that used to come free with jeans like LEI a lot. I feel like I was always wearing one of those because, again, they came free with all of our jeans. And then on top, a little boy's, you know, ribbed tank top undershirt, 2 of them layered with clear bra straps. Okay? Clear bra straps, because that was okay to show, but like a regular bra strap was not okay to show. And then we all 3-barrel waved our hair, like with one of those waving irons, which I still own. I still own it from middle school. And then we used blue gel pen as eyeliner, you guys. Like, we drew a thick line of blue metallic gel pen across our top lash line and then covered it with shimmery like silver eyeshadow. I remember truly thinking this was the ultimate beauty hack. I thought like this was genius because naturally nobody's parents were giving us eyeliner in middle school, but we thought we cracked the code. Man, we had a lot of questionable ideas. We also probably covered ourselves in roll-on glitter, and this was our look. We must have also thought that this was like top tier look. We must have really thought we nailed it with this because middle school dances were where we pulled out the big guns. You were not just rolling up into a middle school dance in any old outfit, okay? Because our little world in middle school revolved around 3 things. Number 1, each other. Obviously, we were basically like 12-year-old Real Housewives in those days. There was so much drama every single day about nothing. Someone was always in a, you know, air quotes, fight. Every other week, you know, every girl had a new best friend and it was just endless drama. I have a log basically of friend conflicts in my middle school journal. I literally used to write like status reports in my journal about all of my friends, and it would be like, you know, person number 1, we're fine right now. I can't believe I was ever mad at her. She's my best friend forever and ever and ever. I love her. Next person, she's mad at me and I don't know why. And I would just go down the list with the status of my conflict or not with all of these friends. Number 2, naturally, were our crushes, which also changed pretty much weekly. I have also a running log of everybody's revolving list of crushes in my middle school journal. Oh my God. And not only did we change who we liked basically every other day, but we would obsess over every little thing that they did. It's so embarrassing. I have a page in that journal from middle school where I wrote down everything that my boyfriend, air quotes, middle school boyfriend, wore for a week. Every outfit, I wrote it down. Like, we would analyze every tiny little interaction that we had with them in class, in the hallways, on AOL, after school. If they called us, forget about it. We would be talking about that and analyzing every breath they took on the phone for weeks. We had code names for them. We would print out 10-page long AOL IM conversations so that our friends could read the conversations and then tell us what they thought. Like, it was so embarrassing. Oh my God. And we had songs for all of the guys, which brings me to item number 3, around which our middle school lives revolved. And that was middle school dances. These were the pinnacle of our lives at the time because it combined all of the most important things that we had in our little social worlds at that time. We got to put on our best, cutest outfit, usually something that we would never wear to actual school, so that felt even more exciting. We maybe even got to wear a little makeup. I remember one time the Mary Kay lady, she was friends with all of our moms, came over to one of our friends' house to do our makeup before the dance. Like, maybe we would do our hair differently. It was fancy. And we even had formal ones, I think maybe like once or twice a year. And those were the biggest deal. But even the regular ones, very big deal because we got to get ready and then we got to go hang out with our little friends and listen to all of our favorite songs. And our school, this is probably just a sign of the times, but our school did not hold back with the music. I remember listening to It Wasn't Me by Shaggy at a middle school dance, that Bloodhound Gang song about doing it like they do on the Discovery Channel. Baby Got Back was also a favorite at the middle school dances. That was always played. Pour Some Sugar on Me, especially after Coyote Ugly. And then, of course, if we were lucky and also brave enough, we got to dance, slow dance. Oh my God, even saying it makes me cringe. Slow dance with our crush. Or maybe even we would dance with our air quotes boyfriend. I can't not air quote a middle school boyfriend, but you know what I mean. If we were brave enough to ask our best friend to go ask his best friend if he would go out with us, then he would become our boyfriend, and then, or maybe vice versa, maybe he would do the asking of the friend to the friend. But either way, then they would become your boyfriend, and then you would dance with this boy at the middle school dances. And the thought of us slow dancing in the middle school gym at 12 years old to Amazed by Lone Star, thinking it was like the most romantic thing we could imagine. It makes me physically uncomfortable. I am simultaneously so thankful and also absolutely horrified with every fiber of my being that I have my middle school journals, because the dances are detailed in there, as you can imagine. I mean, everything is in there, from what every single boy was wearing to the dance to which song everyone danced to. I still remember specific songs that I associate with couples from middle school because we just made such a big deal out of this. It was so important to us. One of my best friends, her song with her boyfriend back then was All My Life by Casey and JoJo. Honestly, that's a good one. That's a classic song. Another friend, it was Truly Madly Deeply by Savage Garden. Mine was Amazed by Lone Star. Yikes. So that was in there. And then everything including like really juicy gossip, like who got into a fight, maybe whose boyfriend dumped them. I feel like breaking up with somebody at a middle school dance was a pretty common occurrence, and then somebody would be like crying in the bathroom. Or whose little middle school boyfriend kissed them at the dance. Where were the teachers, honestly? Because we didn't have anywhere to hide at these dances. I mean, not with a boy. You could go in the bathroom. That was literally the only place you could go. So people were just kissing in the middle of the middle school gym with our math teacher up on the stage DJing, playing a little Casey and JoJo. Ugh. I would also provide extensive details about how close everyone would dance, because this was really important to us. We can all picture the awkward slow dance stance, right? Hands on each other's hips or shoulders, arms stretched all the way out, like you could not possibly be further apart, and then looking all over the place, anywhere except for in that person's face, just doing anything to avoid making eye contact with that person. And this is usually how the slow dancing would start. But then I would take note and then record in my journal later who would get closer as they danced, either like throughout just that song, but usually throughout the night as they danced to multiple slow songs, because they played a lot of slow songs. And this is also cringe. Like, I can hardly talk about, we were children. We were children. And this is what I mean when I say that we thought we were so grown up. We thought we were so adult and so cool and so like had it figured out, and we weren't even looking at each other in the face when we were dancing because we were too embarrassed. And then we would go home after the dance, and we'd always have a sleepover at someone's house so we could stay up all night talking about it. obviously, or maybe even calling the boys who were probably also sleeping at somebody's house. Middle school was also around the time that we started having, we called them boy-girl parties, but essentially co-ed parties. And this was a huge deal, as you can imagine. There was one guy in my class, he would have one for sure, maybe 2 parties every year, and everybody would go, like the whole class would go. And these were naturally extremely highly anticipated events. And I don't remember doing things like playing spin the bottle or really anything like that, like the stuff you see in the movies. I think we mostly just sat around in a circle, like not talking to each other, like avoiding every possible interaction. And then we would just go home and message each other on AIM instead. And the part that feels so embarrassing or so cringe now is the fact that this all genuinely felt like such a big deal to us then. But of course, now as an adult, we have perspective to realize that none of this really mattered. Like your middle school crush not passing you a note after science class does not matter. In the grand scheme of life, it doesn't matter. But in 1999, that would have totally ruined my day. And of course, you know that I am always here to share my cringiest memories. So I'm going to end with a list. And this is going to be my top 5 most embarrassing and or cringy memories from middle school. Number 5, the boy who would call me and sing country songs to me over the phone. So first of all, I have to say that in 7th grade, this boy had a reputation as a player. We used the word player very specifically to describe this boy, and the fact that we could ever use that word to describe how old are you in 7th grade? 12? A 12-year-old is absolutely hysterical and laughable. But I digress. In, I don't know, 7th grade probably, he had gone out, air quotes, gone out with several girls in my grade, including my best friend, by the way. I think she had just broken up with him when this started happening. He would call me after school and tell me to turn on CMT, like the country music channel where they would show country music videos, and we would watch them together on the phone, and he would sing the songs to me over the phone. Okay, not only did I not think that this was embarrassing and horrifying, I actually thought this was like adorable and romantic, and I ended up breaking up with my boyfriend, air quotes, boyfriend, to go out with this boy very briefly. As you can imagine, that did not last. Number 4, oh my God, when I wore leopard print pants and a pleather tank top to a middle school dance, I'm pretty sure this was 8th grade, I dressed like I was in the movie Coyote Ugly in 8th grade to a little middle school dance. I actually think 2, maybe 3 of there were 3 of us, at least 2 of us wearing the same outfit. So my best friend and I would frequently wear matching outfits. And this was one that we thought was perfect for a middle school dance. Leopard pants, black top. We show up to this middle school dance, and unbeknownst to me, my father, who was much stricter than my mom, but lived a few towns over and did not know what I was wearing to this middle school dance, he was chaperoning. I had no idea until I walked into the middle school and then saw my dad in the hallway. And I was like, oh my God, I look like a stripper and my dad's here to chaperone. I don't remember anything else about that night. I think I blocked it out. Honestly, I'm still embarrassed about that. Number 3, using gum and Tic Tacs, like those little breath mint candies, as a way to flirt with our crushes in middle school. And I don't even really know how to describe this because it is exactly what it sounds like, and it's as embarrassing as it sounds. We would bring things like gum and like Tic Tac candies or like Altoids in the tin to school with us, and the boys would make a big production and big show out of trying to steal these things from us or take them from our lockers. This then led to the boys getting a hold of our locker combinations and like taking things out of our lockers. And it was just this elaborate dance to try to flirt with each other. Like my little middle school crush would take the Tic Tacs out of my locker, and then we would like chase each other up and down the hallways, pretending like we were trying to get the Tic Tacs from each other, but they were freaking Tic Tacs. They cost like 99 cents. Like it just goes to show how desperate we were to like flirt with these boys and how they were so important to our little lives, but how also like embarrassed we were to interact with them. Like we had to create some sort of excuse, and little breath mint candies became that excuse. This went on for like an entire year of my life. Number two, having nicknames for everybody. And I touched on briefly that we had code names for the boys, but this isn't even what I'm talking about. It's my friends and I all had individual nicknames for each other that only we would use. And we, for some reason, thought that this was like really cool and made any sense, but actually it made absolutely no sense, because how do you have a nickname that only one person calls you? So for example, my best friend and I called each other Frick and Frack, which, if you're a Backstreet Boys fan, yes, we stole from Nick and Brian, who apparently called themselves Frick and Frack. Like, we even had screen names that were Frick and Frack, but only we called each other Frick and Frack. Nobody else called us this, so it's like we just decided like, oh, we're such good friends that we're Frick and Frack, but no one else used that to refer to each other. I had a girl who was my friend who has the same first name as me. Her name was Jenna. We called each other same name. Why not just say Jenna? It's so much shorter than saying same name. Like, we would yell that down the halls at each other, like, same name, hey, same name. And we thought this was really cool. Another one of my friends called each other Mary Kate and Ashley. Like, why? Why did we call each other Mary Kate and Ashley? Neither one of us looked like Mary Kate or Ashley. Trust me, we tried. We did not look like Mary Kate and Ashley. And it was just this like whole thing. Like, every single one of my friends and I had a nickname like this for each other that only the two of us used. And it was totally nonsensical. But for some reason, this was very important. And I won't even get started on the code names for the boys, because not only did we have code names, we had code symbols. So like star, squiggly line, star symbolized a boy's name. And we were so invested in this that we had it memorized. We knew who all of these people were. I mean, come on. We needed to like get outside. And number one, the most embarrassing thing that I think I ever did in my entire life was messaging our teachers on AOL to tell them our drama. Oh my God. So we did this a few times. A couple of teachers that we had were just like really cool teachers, or were the advisors for clubs that we were in. So we spent time with them after school, and like we would tell them about our drama. And just thinking back about like what these teachers must have thought when we were at OM practice telling them about our drama with our little crushes, they were probably like, Lord, get me out of here. Like, I will do anything to not have to spend my time doing this. We took it a step further, and we would somehow track down their AOL screen names, and we would instant message them. Usually we would come up with some sort of excuse to message them, and this was always when they were no longer our teachers, so thank God we at least had enough sense to not message our current teachers. But like in 7th grade, we messaged our 6th grade teacher to like update him about our lives, as if he cared at all about who was going out with who. And we were so proud of ourselves for doing this that we printed out the conversations and we brought them to school. So on that horrifying note, I will sign off here. I hope you guys liked this one. As painful as it is to relive the memories, sometimes it is always a pleasure to have you guys along for the ride. So I appreciate you tuning in for the conversations. As always, don't forget to rate and review and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Bye!